with traditional management and ended up just taking a digital route. So now we do a lot of different things for our creators, everything from working with brands, going into production capabilities, setting up collaborations, and just helping with the general health and well-being of all of their digital presences.
Yeah, so I'm Brian Krebs, CIO of Target Circle. Target Circle basically has a platform, a technology platform that unites traffic across desktop, mobile, all your traffic sources, including influencer, affiliate, influencer as of fairly recently, to give advertisers a one-stop shop, a single invoice, single contract to buy traffic across basically everything on mobile and desktop. And we have been very interested as of late to really delve into from concentrating on mobile and affiliate into the influencer space, and it's been very interesting and there's been a lot of growth so far, and we're very hopeful of kind of where the influencer space is going as it pertains specifically to performance marketing.
And just one real quick note with regard to growth. When I joined the company in 2013, we had about 150 channels within our network that we were working with that encompassed about 150 million views. Now we have about 900 channels, which encompasses about 700 or so creators, but we're doing over 8 billion views. So the ratios of actual watch views and watch time per creator have just skyrocketed in the last 5 years.
So quick question, how many people in the audience here, everyone's here mainly for Affiliate Summit, I'm guessing? Okay, how many of you are on the publisher side? And how many of you are on the buyer side? Awesome. So before we get into where influence is at right now, I want to set up a couple of quick definitions. So when we talk about influence and influencer marketing, we're really talking about mostly digital formats. These could be bloggers, Instagrammers, YouTubers, Twitter folks, anyone that has an audience that creates content and can engage them. And on the kind of the framework of what the industry looks like, you really have your technology platforms, you have your agencies, your MCNs that represent talent, you have your matchmaking platforms, and your marketplaces. So overall, the landscape of influence is very much maturing. It's something that emerged in the last couple of years. I view it as a hybrid format where it's not quite performance purely, it's also content creation and narrative, but it also had elements of performance and there's different types of ways of approaching it. Because it's a multi-format approach, you have Instagram is very different from Twitter, for example. You have to look at it from multiple points of view. So from measurements to formats to business processes, the entire landscape is going through a maturation process now, where it was a lot less, I would argue, a couple of years ago. There's more standards, there's more best practices coming into play. So for you guys, I want to ask you, how would you individually define influence?
I mean, influence to me is just somebody that can cause an action, plain and simple. Whether it is getting somebody to watch an Instagram story and then swipe up to go to a website or to another video, it's if I have one YouTube channel where I'm a vlogger, but I've decided I'm going to start a gaming channel, and I want people to watch this other format because YouTube says putting both on the same channel isn't good for me, and I can get a third of my audience to jump over to this other channel in the first few weeks, that's influence. That makes people do something rather than a passive viral view, which I'll laugh at a video and then I'll forget about that person a day later.
And I think to add on to that, influencer marketing is almost the next logical evolution of kind of marketing, because when you have traditional marketing and then you kind of evolve into performance marketing, traditional performance marketing, you have targeting, and there's lots of data, and there's been many companies over the last decade or so that have been trying to utilize that data to the best of their ability, but there's behavioral targeting is really been much more understood by the general public, by consumers, and it's not really trusted, especially right now, for sometimes good reason. Influencers have a direct and close connection to the people that you're trying to reach, and I think it's really the obvious next evolution of marketing.
So when you talk about influence, they have a strong connection, like you mentioned. But because normally each influencer or content creator is known for something specific. So I think in affiliate world, you see this in a lot of high-quality blogs, high-quality podcasts, where they're driving really good conversion. Because they're contextually very relevant and very specific. You see the same pattern in the influencer marketing side. You have a beauty blogger who's in beauty, but is maybe specifically known for just her, for example, Look by Lexington is known for her Mask Mondays, where she's doing play mask reviews every Monday. And then there's a high degree of expertise and value by her audience in driving direct conversion recommendations. So, what are some of the key drivers or measurements or ways that you measure influence?
So it really depends on who the creator is and what the brands are looking for, because it isn't just a universal answer. I have certain creators that are filmmakers on my roster, so if I'm working on an awareness campaign with a film brand, for me it's what is going to resonate with their audience, and it's not necessarily even how many views is that video going to get, it's what's the engagement on that video going to be. It's how much are people sharing it, how much are people using the like button, how many people are going in there and going into the comments. And one of the interesting things about the comments is you could have a video that's a few million views and have 10,000 comments, but is it 10,000 comments of people just saying first, or I like this video, or are they actually getting into big comment threads? Like that's an indication of the influence of that creator. And are they talking about just the VFX that this creator put into it, or are they actually talking about the creative and the narrative of the video itself? On the other side of stuff, we work with a creator at Studio 71 known as the Deal Guy, and that's somebody that this room should be very familiar with. He basically created a QVC-like show on his YouTube channel, and his audience is primarily females, 35 to 65, and he finds the best deals. And over Black Friday weekend, he moved hundreds of thousands of units because he knows what his audience is looking for, was able to get them a deal, and has appeared on Amazon during Black Friday to help convert over. Those are totally different metrics than the first creator I mentioned, but especially for a room that's focused on conversion data, that guy destroys it because he's getting high click-through, and then his actual purchase rate from those click-throughs is through the roof.
So, we're gonna break it down, right? Every format, whether it's an Instagram post, an Instagram story, a tweet, a blog, you're gonna have different affinities to different types of conversion. So if you wanna really structure it, in the time sponsor, we bucket into 4 categories. So we look at storytelling, and visibility, and narrative. That's one. Audience growth, so can we drive a follow, subscriptions, something like that. A direct action, so click conversion, a purchase, and then the value content creation itself. So we're driving new content that's going to SEO, it's going to really fast, stuff like that. And you have to think about each format and what it's natively matched to. So for example, if you're looking for e-commerce click-through conversion, as long as your funnel is set up really nicely, and you take your Shopify store and it's mobile friendly, and you tap to buy on Instagram. An Instagram post on the timeline with an image and some text is going to be great for visibility. It's going to really suck for conversion. What you're going to want to look at is something like an Instagram story with someone that has either a verified account or over 10,000 followers, because then they can link in their story, you can do a call to action, you're going to load it right into the app through the mobile app, and you can click and purchase very quickly in that scenario. So when you're approaching the overall space, the current state of the industry is that every format's different. You've really got to understand how you're approaching it, what your conversion point is, and what your metric is. You're talking about comments and engagement. It's not just the vanity metric. It's not just the follower count or the comment count, but the nature of all of that.
And for my customers, just to add on to that, for performance marketing advertisers that are looking for a return, which is the companies that I work with, and we're actually have started with Tiny Sponsor to run performance marketing campaigns whose sole goal is to drive ROI. And what's interesting about that is everything has to be tracked. You can't run a campaign like that without the data and without attribution. And measurement, as you mentioned, it comes in various forms, but when it pertains to specifically ROI-focused campaigns, it is absolutely just critical that you're able to track a conversion all the way to sales. And we do that in a number of ways. We can do that with discount codes, promotional codes, also affiliate links, basically, essentially translating an influencer into kind of the next evolution of an affiliate.
And one thing alongside that, and Mike mentioned it, and it should not be glossed over, make sure that your funnel is as seamless and streamlined as possible. I've seen a lot of campaigns.
For mobile especially.
For mobile especially, yeah. I've seen a lot of campaigns that have a really high click rate from the actual piece of content, but then when they get to the page to do the purchase or whatever the action is, they're going through 3 or 4 pages, and the drop-off rate, the more steps that the consumer needs to do, ends up looking like the creator didn't do a great job, and it's like, well, they had a 10% click-through rate from their original piece of content, but they had to go through 4 pages to actually make the purchase. At some point, it falls off of the influencer's responsibility, and it does fall on the marketer to make sure that the funnel works too.
And super was attractive. So a lot of the companies at Affiliate Summit look at the affiliate tracking, funnel tracking, stuff like that. It's really to be used to do that. But definitely make sure that the narrative and the follow through is very smooth. I was talking with the head of R&D over at Shopify a few months ago. And one thing she mentioned was that they view influencer marketing as essentially the other side of the coin of affiliates, in the sense that it's content, you're driving conversion, you're tracking performance. Outside of a direct payout for a click or a conversion on the affiliate tracking link, the idea of it is someone who's representing or communicating your brand and sharing it with others, right? So from that point of view, there's a lot of overlap in the idea that affiliates and influencers are sort of similar, almost inside the same coin. The one key difference is that influencer marketing, we look at the unit as a hybrid unit, right? It's not just performance, it's not just content creation, it's not just things. You're really bringing them together. So kind of wrapping up the current state of the influencer market, would you agree with the following statement, which is that there are tracking tools, analytics tools, there are management platforms that allow you to manage the process of recruiting, negotiating, and proposing and paying an influencer. And then there are some marketplaces and directories. So Tiny Smart should be an example of a marketplace where you have some level of inventory. In our case, creators come to us, tell us what they do very specifically best, and then set pricing and the audience data, and you can buy based on what they do, what the deliverables are, there's escrow built in, and there's specific audience data. There's other platforms, let's say FameDit or Gridclimb, where we help you manage the process, but they have a network of creators where you're doing creator profiles and you're reaching out to them and doing proposal-based approaches. Does that kind of summarize the nature of the market?
It's pretty close. The one thing I would add is there are kind of the open marketplaces for the influencers to go into themselves. Something like the Amazon affiliate marketplace or Magic Links are both companies that we've had a lot of success with. They're especially helpful with creators that are in their infancy because when you have somebody who has maybe 10 or 15,000 followers, brands 3 years ago weren't even using the term micro-influencer. So this was where we were able to say, look, this person only has 15,000 followers, but when they go in and they post a link related to whatever brand, maybe they're doing tech reviews on cameras, they have such a loyal group within that 15,000 that your actual dollars that you're spending compared to what your conversion rate is so much stronger in some cases versus the massive influencer, the guy who has 15 million followers and maybe only converts 500 people.
Well, so the key point here is content, right? Content is everything that you do.
And I think that that particular phenomenon, that those micro and nano influencers have such a close connection with their followers, is kind of causing the rise of the micro and nano influencer, and it's also causing some market kind of fragmentation because there's so many of them to hit a certain reach, and that is, I think, also just hence causing the rise of these platforms, these open marketplaces that are able to aggregate these smaller influencers together so that they are accessible to, or much more easily accessible to them.
Right, especially when it's a very niche target audience that person has. Like, I'm gonna go super nerdy with this one. They play Magic the Gathering, and they've had about 100,000 followers for almost as long as I've worked with them. That's probably near the upper limit of what that audience on YouTube is. But when they go to different tournaments and such like that, they're actually interacting with all of their fans. So when they say, you need to buy this or you need to go and do this, their audience has a lot more trust for them. I'm going to use another example of a creator. Like if you take somebody like let's just go to the nth degree and you look at somebody like PewDiePie. If PewDiePie goes out to an event, there are so many people that are trying to see him and talk to him. He can only interact with a finite number of him. So while they may be fans of his or super fans with him, there's not that one-on-one level of trust because most of his fans have never been in the same building as him, let alone have a chance to speak with him.
So one thing is the bigger influencer you go with, and generally speaking, the broader their influence. So broad is good if you want a broad campaign, it's going to be great. If you want a specific type of conversion, again, context is everything. There's a metric that we have internally called resonance. And the definition of resonance is how much alignment is there between not just the influencer and the brand, but the audience, the influencer, their content, the brand, and the brand product. And when you have alignment across the board, consistent, you'll see 10, 20x return compared to otherwise. So, where is influence going? What do you see? Because right now, we're kind of transitioning from what we call a Wild West environment. We had a lot of abstracted vanity metrics, like follower count. We're trying to get to more tangible metrics that are more direct. The approaches are changing, there's new tools coming out. Where do you guys see the trends going in terms of the next stage of maturation of business?
I think it's going to be data. I mean, data is so important to every type of marketing, and that doesn't preclude or disclude or exclude influencer marketing. The bottom line is it's so fragmented from the standpoint of channels right now. Every channel does things differently. There's no real standardization of what data is available, and there's massive fake account purges on Twitter this year. Fake accounts is a problem, and it's definitely a well understood problem by the demand, and it's one of the largest concerns. So finding ways to use data to not only target the audience properly, to optimize campaigns that are running on influencer channels, and to make sure that the data is coming back to you, the first party data specifically, in a repeatable way, rather than just like a screenshot of how many people this particular post reached.
100% agreed on data. Data is going to be increasingly important in finding out what the right data is. Like everybody's already said, a view on one platform is not the same value as a view on another platform, and views can be fake. It's really what goes along with those views and the quality of that. I also think that the creative marketplace is evolving because I've seen the two polar ends of it. I've seen it where a brand has literally brought a script to a creator, and then that video ended up performing poorly because the creator knows what their audience is looking for. They know what's going to resonate. I've also seen where a brand has said, cool, just make sure to have this 15-second segment and then go wild with the rest of the video. Sometimes the creators, and of course we try to help guide them as much as we can, will just go off the deep end. And when that happens, you as marketers don't get the opportunity to get the real return on it. It's getting the back and forth conversation in the creative process that I've really started to see happen over the last year and a half and 2 years. That's where the biggest change has happened, where it's not just been a successful video or a successful campaign, it's been both. And getting that magic middle is where the industry needs to go if it's not going to just be like a TV commercial. I think that's the biggest thing is, you could get so many views by running an ad on Monday Night Football, but are you really getting the quality views? I know a lot of people who are watching Monday Night Football, and it's such a diverse group of people is that the most efficient way to spend your money? No, it's probably pretty easy, and that's why people keep doing it, but the quality is totally different, and your resonance is going to be completely different as well.
Agreed. So, if there's one mistake that you see, because of the content side,
sure.
One mistake that you see someone making when going into the space for the first time, other than that one, what is that?
On the creator side or on the marketing side?
on the buy side?
On the buy side. I mean, the number one, like I said, is definitely the handing somebody a script. The other one would be unrealistic expectations based on general metrics. So I do think there are people that will say, oh, well, this person gets 1 million views per video. They should be able to convert half of these people into, making a purchase. And it's like, if it's a free app, maybe. Like we've seen massive conversion with an app called Piano Tiles when that launched. One of our creators, I think, had close to a 25% conversion rate. It's fantastic. But at some point, there's only going to be so many people that are actually going to download that app from it. And then if it's a big enough app, like, you look at something like Clash of Clans, for example. If they were to come to me and say, well, this guy had a 25% conversion rate with Piano Tiles, can he do the same with us? It's like, maybe when you are launching, yes, but the fact that your app has been on the store for years at this point, what's his potential marketplace to even hit? Maybe out of his audience, only 5% haven't even downloaded it at this point. So, unrealistic expectations.
Sorry?
Any quick tips?
Look, I mean, I think this has been said before. Bottom line is, as an advertiser, you have to understand what you're measuring. You have to understand what your goals are, and if you don't understand what your goals are, and you don't look at influencer marketing channels as a cohesive part of your general marketing strategy. It's not this one-off thing that you're just randomly spending. It has to be, there's a recent study that came out, a survey whose results said that 18% of advertisers using influencer marketing today don't even consider it as a part of their overall ROI strategy, which is pretty crazy. So things aren't being measured, let alone understanding what should be measured based on goals. And I think that's a really strong place to start, which seems obvious. But
the best campaigns we've seen combine influencer marketing with their overall visibility, with their overall pay, with their overall affiliate, their overall performance. And combined together, you get a multiple outcome.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example of that is the Best Fiends app, because they went and they hit everything from massive top-tier influencers to micro-influencers, and then driving down, like, La Cienega in LA, like, you just saw billboards for it, and that's hitting completely different audiences. So they were doing all the things to get direct interaction from who their target was on YouTube and Instagram and such, but then they were also doing the things to just get general visibility, and their plan was just, how do we spike ourselves in the App Store? And that was their end goal, was do everything we can to spike ourselves in the App Store, and then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You get in the top 10 in the App Store, you're golden.
So, wrapping up, one quick tip, which is, I would say, start from the influencer, don't start from the brand. Meaning, don't say, I need an influencer, I have a budget, pitch me. Because you're going to get generic pitches. Find a way to understand what makes a specific influencer unique, and buy based on that. That's when conversion is going to happen. If you do that scale big, many places you can do that. There's a lot of network you can use. Tiny plus to place that. Google Studios, if you want an example, or other MCNs, then go to them. What town is really good at this?
Just Studio 71. Don't go to the other MCNs.
So, we'll be available for questions at the Tiny Spots booth in the corner. I also have a white paper that breaks down the formats, the conversion types, the affinities, kind of the essentials that you can grab. The next panel is going to be talking about a case study for a consumer brand and how they were able to achieve really high return and discover really many things when approaching, when doing a different marketing campaign. So stick around for that. This afternoon we have a lot of major influencers today and tomorrow. Some people have 20, 25 million followers, so you're super interesting. I hope you stay around, and we can dive into tactics throughout the rest of the day. So thank you for coming, and we'll be available for questions in the back corner. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.